All right, it's recording. All right, three, two, one. Welcome everyone back to episode two of Swinton Motives. I'm joining with me again. My name's Ian Tang, and then my co-host Matt. And then today we're going to talk about toxic masculinity, or is masculinity toxic in the first place? Is believing in traditional gender roles, is believing in that man should protect woman, and then, but at the same time, woman also has a duty to help their husband to, in the biblical terms, submit to their husband, which is a controversial take today. But joining with us, so Matt is gonna talk about Passport Bros. So Matt, talk to us about Passport Bros.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure most of you guys have heard about this phenomenon. Essentially, it's Western men traveling to, you know, non-Western countries or non-Westernized countries, such as countries in South America like Colombia or Argentina, I guess, kind of Western, but
It's literally
not
like
to,
us saying how Asian women are all going for white men.
yeah. Basically. Yeah, they also go to Southeast Asian countries too, like Thailand, Vietnam, or the Philippines, where I'm from. Yeah. So, Ian, why do you think so many of these guys are going
Yeah, to me,
elsewhere?
the biggest reason is that if you look at the demographic, if you look at all the white liberals out there, men do not want to date a white liberal woman yelling yelling a bunch of stuff, saying, "Oh, we want the ERA. We want, yeah, how come? Yeah, I don't want a man holding the door for me. Man, we want chivalry back, you know? We like when we have fun, we don't really care as long as the girl's hot, right? But when we try to settle down, when we try to start a family, we want traditional values. We want our kids to be raised well. We want their mother to be someone that our daughters to can look up to. And if you look at the demographic, white women today are the most, especially unmarried white women, are the most liberal demographic out there. Jewish women as well. Black women as well. But if you actually look at beliefs, white women and Jewish women overwhelmingly believe, let's say for homosexuality. For the white demographic, white liberals overwhelmingly believe in homosexuality being something innate, being something natural. 70% of them believe in that. But if you look at black liberals, only 30% of them believe that homosexual you are born to be homosexual. Like the majority of black liberals and then all the other liberals demographic we look at, they actually believe it's the society that's a factor in driving someone to be a homosexual. So just like what I said, white guys and just guys in general, when we settle down, when we start a family, we want someone with traditional values. We want someone who's willing to be a homemaker, which are all super great things in my opinion, especially as a Catholic man. There's nothing greater than being a mom, but that's what white liberal women are doing their best to resist in becoming that role.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's not just white liberal women. I think it's all liberal women because even even amongst Asians, right? Asian girls, they still try to emulate the same liberal, you know, progressive, like SJW values that, you know, aren't really conducive to the traditional family structure. Um, and one of the key questions about these people going abroad is whether they're really going abroad to seek love or because they're interested in the culture or they're doing exploitation. Now, the exploitation thing, it really it really makes no sense because they think that these women abroad, just because they're not an American or because they're not westernized, that they're inherently dumber than the woman here, which frankly makes no sense because especially in Asia, their systems and their standards of education are much higher than ours, right? I'm pretty sure you know this
Yeah,
with studying
yeah.
abroad, right? And of course, they may not be the most fluent in English, right? But it doesn't mean they're stupid, right? But me, because I'm Filipino, I know that most Filipinos, especially in the big cities, are pretty fluent in English, right? So I want you to pull up a clip. Um, there was this guy who was receiving a lot of flack for being a passport bro and posting about it online. He has great content. You should check it out. We'll link it in the description. But essentially, he was responding to another podcast where they was talking about this exact phenomenon. Yeah, you
This
should go
one.
ahead play that clip from the beginning.
The Philippines, Thailand, like women can that can speak very little English, women that don't have education. A lot of these women talking shit on the passport bros have never left the country. It's obvious because the Philippines is one of the countries with the highest levels of English speaking people that I've ever been to. I met a Filipina here and she's going to explain more about it. Okay, so this doesn't go to every American woman out there. This is just for those who keeps on talking shit about us, okay? And it seems to me that a lot of American women are insecure about how we treat men better than you guys. And it's actually because we are raised to be good wives, and finding a good man is actually a prize for us. And if you're insecure about this, if you're threatened in some kind of way, I suggest you work on yourselves instead of talking shit about other people who doesn't even care about you guys, who doesn't even know you exist. And y'all kind of seem hard to please and naggy and insecure. And I think that is why men leaves you guys. The Philippines.
Well said.
100% true. 100% true. And look at that. That's not no broken English, right? Which proves my point, you know. You America, I mean, we're American. We obviously think America is the best. But when it comes to our woman, that's that's one of our lacking qualities, for lack of a better word. Uh, I think,
Yeah, you remind me of the time when what's I forgot his name, the kicker for the Chiefs. Oh, Harrison Bucker.
mm,
When Harrison Bucker went to a Catholic university, to a Catholic audience, and basically he was encouraging the woman there to be homemakers because his wife is such a great homemaker. He even teared up on stage um just by praising how great his wife is. And then Harrison Bucker immediately after that the commencement speech he gave, he got canceled by the mainstream, calling him a misogynist, saying that, oh, you don't want women to be scientists, you don't want women to be a physician. You want them to stay at home and cook for your family. It just it rise literally explains how why every guy in the West is we don't want a Western woman because our the whole environment, the whole mainstream is telling our girls, well, being a mom is a terrible thing. Becoming a homemaker is a terrible thing. You should pursue your career. You should do what you should do XYZ. You should sleep with 100 guys in 24 hours before you settle down. Like settling down, it kind of seems like a last resort that you're a woman is trying to do when they're in their 35, when they're no longer young, when their beauty is fading. And then yeah, it really reminds me of the whole phenomenon when not even like religious guys, you don't even have to be religious guys. You want someone who just wants to settle down, who want a
yeah,
family, and then the whole environment is just driving a woman against not even against men, but against family, the most basic unit of the
mm.
society.
And you made a good point about that, about the culture. The culture now is into it's not cool to settle down early. It's not cool to have a lot of kids, right? And it's also not economically sound. I mean, if you look at the population crisis in Asia, like in China, especially South Korea and Japan, you know, it's not affordable and it's not feasible, even if both parents are working, right? And in the West too, you're beginning to see this problem. Are women going to choose economic security over having a family? Now, I want to talk about what Andrew Tate, he brought up a great point. He said that when he went to his great grandmother's 90th birthday, nobody knew what the hell she did for work, and nobody cared. The point was that all those hundreds of people were there because of her, because of the sacrifices that she made. When you die, when a woman dies, on their gravestone, on their tombstone, it's gonna say a loving mother and an even better grandmother. It's not gonna say, oh, a great physician or a great investment banker. Nobody cares about that. No, genuinely, nobody cares, right? So this this shift in, you know, having the nuclear family not being the ideal, I think it's quite concerning. Um, the alternative, just hooking up, being a whore, and being so money driven. There are things in life bigger than that. And it also ties into the lack of the diminishing role of the church. Um, but also parents nowadays, they're too soft on their kids. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like yeah, I completely agree. I think like yeah, the other day I saw some article by The Economist saying motherhood is the biggest driver against women pursuing their career.
Mm.
And then like yeah, right away from the headline, you know the message, you know the underlying message. Yeah. It's literally saying, yeah, woman, you should avoid motherhood at all costs because it's a terrible thing. Like and especially with the whole pro-choice movement as well, talking about how pregnancy is a disease, so that's why abortion is the healthcare. Like it literally abortion is literally opposite of any healthcare, you know, because with healthcare, there's got to be a life first, you know. That's like saying I'm providing public transportation by being a human trafficker. It literally makes no sense. And then it's it's really disgusting how from every point the left, or I shouldn't say the left, like the demons of the world, they're trying to attack the family. They're trying to attack the nuclear family. And then that's why there's gay marriage now, you know? Like there are a lot of gay good parents, I believe, but two dads and two mom will never replace a dad and a mom in the
Think
household.
about the kid too.
Think
That
about the
kid
kid
is
too,
gonna get so
exactly. It
bullied. Like,
yeah.
I mean, probably if he goes to some liberal ass bullshit public school in New York, like I did, there's probably nothing's gonna happen. But no, actually, something still will happen. If you go to a public school, those fucking dudes, black dudes from the Bronx, they're gonna flame your ass, man. Don't fucking try to join. I remember when I was in when I was in high school, this fucking trans, I think it was a girl trying to be a boy. It had to be. He was like fucking 4'8". That motherfucker had tried to join the basketball team, and but my coach was like the most unhinged motherfucker. He was like, "This is boys' tryouts. Well, girls' tryouts tomorrow." And she's like, he said it in the most feminine voice, like, "No, I'm 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 a boy." And then he was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I was like, "Why does this guy need to apologize? I mean, she is it is a girl, and she didn't even end up showing up to the next tryout. I don't even think they play basketball. So I don't know. Like, it's infectious, this thing, and you gotta cut it. You gotta cut it off before it spreads. It's like the fucking,
Mm.
it's like it's fucking COVID, man. You gotta just cut them off, put them somewhere.
And Matt, do you think like one reason we're seeing such a huge rise in like trans youth, trans kids, this whole phenomena, how big of a factor do you think it has to deal with the family. It has to deal with parenting.
That's a great deal, I think, because I think now a lot of parents are trusting in liberal like when 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 our parents when they grew up, right? The mode of media was television, was the news networks, mainstream media, CNN, Fox, NBC, CBS, PBS. All those programs now, they're still avid viewers of it, and they still read the same publications that they do today, which are mostly left leaning. Like it's not even like there are a few right leaning, like I guess, but most of them are left leaning. So they rely on these sources, and these sources they tell them in their lifestyle columns how they should parent and what to do if their child comes out a certain way, right? They're not going to the church, they're not going to their parents, the grandparents, right? They're trusting these articles, right? And it's also it's like this need, right? There's this how do I say it? There's this false notion that if you're an avid reader of like mainstream average consumer of mainstream media, that you're somewhat more educated or you're an academic. You're not, right? Academia has such a bias, and they're telling these parents like what to do in a situation where their kid says he might be fucking 5 years old, doesn't even know what the fuck he had for dinner 3 days ago, and say that he feels like a girl, and then all of a sudden the parents start panicking. They're like, "Oh my God, what should I do?" They start scrambling. They go online, they read these things made by these fucking I don't know these gender study majors, and they take it to heart, right? Because that's what they knew back in the day. So they take it to heart and they apply that, and they don't cut it off at the helm. They don't cut it off, right? If they were to cut it off, if early, if they were to say, "No, son, you're not a girl. You're confused. You're a boy. You might like some girly things, some things that are, you know, related or typically feminine, quote unquote, but that doesn't mean that you're a girl, right?" So it's just this fear, I think, in parents now that stems from the mainstream media, you know, sort of telling them like, no, this is okay, this is normal when it's not, right? All of a
Mhm.
sudden became normal in the last like 10 years, right? I mean, they're gonna say, oh, trans people existed forever. Not like this. Not like this, man. Back then, trans people, they weren't saying they're biologically or they should play the sports with the guys. Trans women weren't saying that. This is all recent. It's all a recent phenomenon, right? So the parents, they need to cut it off at the helm, right? No more listening to academia. Just what do you feel is right in your heart, man? Do you really think your 5-year-old son knows what's best for him? He does not know, right? So you as a parent, you're there to guide. You're not there to, you know, baby them all the time and spoil them. It's a form of spoiling. All
Mhm.
this transgenderism, this transitioning, right? It's a form of spoiling because you don't know how to tell your child no. What do
Yeah,
you
in my
think?
opinion, is this hyper individualistic society that America is turning into, and then it all really stands from liberalism, the idea that yeah, I want to be free. Liberalism, not just in terms of being socially liberal, also being economically liberal. So that's why I don't, especially as a Catholic, I don't really see myself being a libertarian at all. Like I definitely support capitalism, but we're we're going in a direction as a society that everything is about the self. Everything is about, oh, everyone gets a trophy. You did well. Everyone should get a trophy. Oh, I do what I want. I have things that I want to achieve. Sacrificing for the family, lame. Working working 9 to 5, so hopefully one day I can be on a be on a private jet or something, becomes the mainstream narrative of success. That's why there's also um this like overly hyped up idea of college, of academia, that say, oh, it's better to have a gender studies PhD than to be a plumber who's making 3 times more than probably the average professor out there, or making as much as a lawyer out there. And you talk about academia, and I think it starts way before academia. It starts with not just the mainstream media. It starts with the like not just TikTok, but with the entertainment, with the cartoon kids are watching. Now cartoons are telling their kids that, oh, not even it's not even humans that are transgender. There are animals who are confused as well. There's this cow, whatever cartoon that says there's this cow that says in the cartoon, "Oh, I'm non-binary. That's why I don't identify with either gender." A cow is a fucking cow. All right.
How the fuck are they gonna expect kids to know what the fuck non-binary is? How are they even gonna understand that? Like, you see, this is the issue, man. Like, these people are handed too much power. Like, us as Americans are so sensitive. You're kind of pussies in a way, right? Excuse my French, but that's what it is, right? One group
Yeah.
starts complaining, whether it be racial group or uh no, LGBTQ, whatever, and you know, they just okay, they just heed their demands, follow whatever they want. They just give them what they want, and it's like you're too afraid to push back. Hollywood, you don't want to push back at all, right? But that's the problem. They see it as a money grab, right? But now I think it's more than a money grab. I think they're deliberately trying to change the cultural dynamics of our society because especially like with the shit they're coming out with now, right? Every like Marvel, for example, everyone's telling them we don't want this bull crap, but they still keep putting it out. They're literally bombing every movie, and the fans are telling studios, we don't want this. Like, we don't care for this woke crap. But that's all they give us. So I don't even think it's a profit driven thing anymore. I think starting off, yeah, maybe it was, but now I think these guys these have indoctrinated the entire industry and entire different facets of society. Over these next 4 years, it's gonna take longer than 4 years, man. It's gonna take probably like decades to undo all the damage they've done, especially to the kids, especially to them.
Well, yeah, I guess, but there is something to be happy about. Check out that handsome guy.
Yeah,
There's a reason
that's
why
where it
Trump
starts.
won in 2024. There's a reason why right-wing populism has taken over the world. And yeah, this is apparently official presidential portrait of Donald Trump. This is the face that is telling you, don't fuck with us again. This is the face that's telling you, you want to come after our kids, you want to come after everything America has stood for, you want to come after the Christian values that we were built on. Don't fuck with us, you know? This is not just Trump, but there's a reason why in the UK the Reform Party is gaining traction. There's a reason why in El Salvador, in Argentina, all these right-wing figures are winning. And one of the biggest factor that led to Trump's victory is not just inflation, or it's not just really, oh, the whole trade war issue of China, because
Yeah.
yeah, economics matter, immigration matter, but an exit poll actually shows that during the World Series, Trump was playing this ad that was saying Kamala Harris is for they them. Kamala Harris is a radical gender lunatic who support transitioning illegal immigrants and also putting man and woman sports. And Donald Trump is for you, Kamala Harris is for they them.
Mm-hmm.
And the exit poll actually
That's what
shows
happened.
that ad alone is the one of the biggest single driving factor for them to switch their vote to Donald Trump. And and I want to talk about someone who aspired to be the Donald Trump of the UK, and his name is none other than Andrew Tate. And when I saw Andrew Tate starting his whole party trying to become the prime minister of the UK, I look at his platform and I was thinking to myself, is the Reform Party not enough? Is what's really the point of having a whole party, a whole new right wing populist party when we already have the Reform Party, and not to mention the Conservative Party already, even though the Tories are not really conservative at all, but w- but my initial concern was that aren't you splitting up the conservative base? But one of my favorite quote from Andrew Tate when he was running, he was saying, even if he knows he's not winning, the whole point of him running is to force British politics to talk about these cultural issues that no one else is willing to talk about. And it really reminded me of the success of Ron DeSantis when Ron DeSantis ran in 2018 and then in 2022. At that time, when he first ran in 2018, Trump just emerged. The whole establishment Republican is still in charge. But Ron DeSantis tackled cultural war issues like none other did. And he won by, so in 2018, he won by like a margin of 0.3%. In 2022, after fighting all of these cultural war issue as a governor. He won Florida, a used to be swing state, by 20%. There's a reason why the Republican Party is popular now. It's not because all of a sudden people believe in laissez-faire economics, or all of a sudden, oh, people think, yeah, we like low taxes for big corporations. No, the reason why Republican Party is so popular now is because of guys like Ron DeSantis, of guys fighting the cultural war, is guys like Matt Walsh making the movie What Is Woman, exposing the whole lunacy on the left, exposing how, yeah, it's the conservative are not this lame establishment people anymore. We are protecting all of the underlying values and traditions that build our country. Meanwhile, it's a left that is going crazy, that is trying to destroy everything. So let's talk about the Bruv Party for now. And then, so I actually look into both the Bruv Party's platform, the Conservative Party's platform, and then the Reform Party's platform, and then obviously the Tories, the Conservatives. They're just straight up lame. They won't even really talk about any of the cultural issue. But the Bruv Party, they so here's talking about accountability. But the Bruv Party, they're basically saying things that are not that much different from the Reform. Like the Reform initially, I thought it was simply about going against illegal immigration. It was simply about um free speech, these like very old school conservative ideas. But the Reform, they're actually as base as it gets. It talks about like stopping the whole transgender teaching before high school. It talks about restoring the pride of being a UK citizen. It talks about anti-globalism, because the whole Reform Party was founded upon Brexit, right? It's especially, it really talked about how the UK should start taking an anti-globalist approach. But one of my favorite things that really makes Andrew Tate's Bruv Party stand out is how it wants to reform the BBC. This is something that the
Pause.
Reform Party has not talked about yet. So let's read its proposal. Reforming the BBC, a rotten institution. The BBC was once a cornerstone of British culture. Today, it's a stain on our national name, with sexual abuse scandals, allegations of child exploitations, reports of pornographic contents. It's the funniest thing is that the BBC was the biggest accuser of Andrew Tate being a human trafficker and then um like a like a child pornography exploiter. And then literally one of its biggest reporter who were reporting on the Andrew Tate case got caught watching child pornography. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the hypocrisy is insane. All right, let me finish reading this. This is not just
And
negligence;
that
it's
guy,
wrong.
he didn't get punished.
You didn't get
You know that?
punished?
No, nothing happened to him.
Wow. And then so the BBC will be stripped down and report. Its mission will be factual reporting, not propaganda. BBC will get its topic from X and have a community notes style online system for verification of all stories and debates with the public. The BBC will have a public trust score based on its accurate reporting of events and voted on by the populace. The BBC must reach a minimum trust level to be government funded. The BBC must serve Britain, not to undermine it. So you just talked about how the mainstream media is literally undermining our society. What do you think of the whole approach of Andrew Tate trying to reform BBC? Is it too radical? Is it like I guess some Ben Shapiro conservative will be saying, "Oh, it's you're violating the invisible hand principle of Adam Smith's
What?
Wealth of
No,
Nations
Jesus Christ.
idea."
No. So
Like
the
what
BBC
what do you think?
itself is it's state media. Like it's like CCTV in China, you know. It's owned by the British government. So the way that they portray things, and if they have like people like Jimmy Savile working for them, right? And it takes them years, for them for they knew he was a pedophile. They knew he was doing all those nasty things for years, right? And they didn't take any action. It's unbelievable. Um, when it comes to reforming, I don't think it's radical at all. I mean, you saw Facebook; they're even implementing the community notes feature that Elon Musk started with X. So no, I don't think it's radical at all. I think that uh, it's it's good. Um, and there can be left-leaning media outlets, right? We're not saying that every media outlet should be on our side. That would be completely unreasonable. But
Mhm.
there should be some accountability, especially when it comes to the accusations that the BBC are putting on one of its own citizens. People forget that Andrew Tate is a British citizen. Like a lot of people think he's American. A lot of people think he's British too. He's actually both. Uh, yeah, they falsely accused this guy of this, and then he was acquitted in Romania recently. So I don't think it's radical at all. I think that he's doing a good job to shine the light on all of these grooming scandals and all of those other corruption scandals that are going on in Britain. And let me tell you, I studied abroad in Britain in summer 2023, and London is being taken over. Like, genuinely. You go to South Kensington, it's one of the richest areas, one of the most posh areas, as they say, over there. And I was staying there for about 6 weeks, and the majority of the people there are like Arab, like they look like the sheikhs in Dubai. So it's clear that they're being taken over. It's clear that their national identity um, is sort of diminishing. Um, if I were a native Brit, I would feel some type of way too, you know. So I don't think what he's doing is radical at all. I think it's just a way to shine the light on the problems. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I do wish him
Mhm.
luck though, because I do think
And
that
yeah, in my opinion,
the
it's
problems
sort
with
of like
Canada are real.
I'm not all right defending Andrew Tate. Obviously, I think each like he's not perfect, and all of us has problems as well. But there are people on the conservative side saying, "Why are you appealing to a Muslim? Why are the right embracing a misogynist? Why is the right embracing a guy who who's Muslim and then who don't really believe in traditional family values and stuff?" But my response to that is when you look at what he's actually advocating. So let's go to his page. If you remove Andrew Tate's picture, I believe every guy on the right will believe what he says. So this is one of his 41 tenets. I believe all men have the responsibility to lead and guide those they care for to greater health, prosperity, and happiness. How is this even disputed on the conservative side? I choose to only interact with those who are respectful and civil in return for my own respect and civility. How is this even a conservative thing?
I
Like if
don't
you
think
replace
I
the picture on the right with freaking Joe Biden, this will be on the front page of every elementary textbook.
yeah I think a lot of conservatives, their main issue with Tate is all the scandals and um his lifestyle. I don't have a description
Mhm.
for his lifestyle.
Yeah,
Right?
I'll say, yeah, as a devout Catholic, I'm probably a lot more Catholic than you. Yeah, I definitely don't agree with his lifestyle. Personally, I'm against fornication. I'm against having more than one girlfriend, having more than one wife, and personally, I'm against. Well, as a Catholic, especially as someone who loves the crusade, I'm against the spread of Islam and then the conversion of Christians becoming Muslim. But if you look at what he's actually advocating for, he's the only guy out there saying we need to remain Britain as a Christian nation, and which Britain is. If you in the House of Lords, according to the British Constitution, there needs to be 26 bishops from the Anglican Church directly involved with the House of Lords. And then the British monarch is the direct head of the Anglican Church worldwide. So so from every perspective, Britain is a Christian nation. Britain is in some sort um like a theocracy almost. And then but you got no one else on the right, no other Christians who are talking about making Britain look like Britain. Making he was saying, especially Andrew Tate said that in the most Indian populated areas in Britain, Britain must look like Britain. In the most Muslim area in Britain, Britain must look like Britain. And Britain must return to its Christian roots. If you don't want Britain to be that way, if you want to come into Britain and then influence it with whatever religion, if you don't want to assimilate, then get out. He's like the only guy on the right saying this. He's like you don't even see Charlie Kirk or Ben Shapiro, who's been critiquing him, saying anything close to that. Especially a lot of Catholics dislike Andrew Tate. I get it. You can disagree with his lifestyle, but you're not. But he's the only guy I've advocating for the protection of Christian values in the UK. So, and then just like what I said, what he's really advocating for. Look at all of these talking points. If you replace the picture on the right, instead of Andrew Tate smoking cigars with his big chest showing, you replace it with Bishop Barron, or you replace it with Kamala Harris, everyone will be embracing it. So it's just funny how people on the right, they're like the most annoying people on the right are people that are saying, "Oh, I'm conservative. I believe in these conservative principles, but I'm not crazy like those guys. I don't believe our presidents are raping kids on Epstein Island. I'm not weird like those guys." Matt, you definitely know what I'm talking about, right? Like
Yeah,
those
of
conservative
course.
those conservatives that are that yeah,
The
that
thing
are
is,
that are
the
picking
problem
wars
I have
amongst
with
themselves.
Shapiro and his hate of Tate, it's all because of like he thinks that Andrew Tate he says that Andrew Tate identifies the problem correctly. He gives a good diagnosis, but his treatment to the problem, he's like, "Oh yeah, webcam girls and having multiple partners isn't the solution." I'm like, "Okay, I can see you can disagree with Tate, right? But that's also not a reason to completely dismiss him. But I can also see why he's saying that, right? Regardless of what you wanna believe, like the dating scene right now, it's secular, you know.
Yeah.
So what Tate is saying is essentially keep your options open, right?
Hmm.
And it's the same. It ties into my point with passport bros actually, right? Because women are hypergamous. They want to date someone who's on the same level as them or is higher than them financially, physically,
Socially.
socially, intellectually, right? They seek that, right? And so when you have social media, when you have Arabian sheikhs and these freaking playboys hitting girls up, they can find any girl in the world and hit them up, put them on a flight, boom, right? Where does that leave the average guy? That's why these guys, they're going to these countries where they can be that guy. They can be a provider, right? And it's not gonna completely break them, you know. And Tate, he says this. He's like, if you want to be average, that's fine. But then women, don't expect to have a traditional wife who's just gonna stay at home, cook and clean, and take care of the kids because you can't provide that lifestyle for her. And it's wrong, right? But in this secular world that we live in, that's the treatment to the diagnosis that he gives, and you can disagree, right? But it doesn't change the fact that he's right about these issues and that he points them out and then
Mhm.
then he brings light to them, which opens up the discourse at least, right? You might not agree with his solutions for it, but it brings attention to it, and that's why I respect him.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's someone listening to us talking about Andrew Tate, defending Andrew Tate, and there will be people bring up a tweet from him from like 2018 or something saying, "See, this guy actually hates women. This guy don't dignify woman to how the Bible describes woman, or just straight up call Andrew Tate a misogynist." So what I want to bring up first is that even Andrew Tate said it himself. Before he was famous, he's an entertainer. Of course he says wild shit. Of course he has said stuff that can be very wrong if you read it out of context. If you read it not from a comedy standpoint. But the thing is that if you actually listen to what Andrew Tate says in interviews, if you actually listen to his actual thoughts of man and woman, his actual thoughts of man and woman really just goes back to what society was from the very beginning for the past like two or ten two like what how many millenniums that were in the past. His idea of man and woman simply just goes down to the traditional gender roles that how society has been functioning as. So, man being the protector and the provider of the family, the woman being the nurturer of the family. Both are both are needed in a society. Like it's not saying that man because we're stronger because we're working. That's why men are superior and women are inferior. No, we complement each other in this society. So the next thing I want to bring up is with Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing. Pete Hegseth. My thought on him first is that he seems like a neo-con to me. He seems like someone who's very pro-war and he's a Zionist. So
Oh, really?
that part I'm not a big fan of. But him bring back this masculine the whole masculinity thing back into the army when especially in the age when you're seeing some general being a trans or someone identifying as a dog in the military.
Yeah, man.
I am a super big fan of him bringing that culture back. But let's play a clip of his
Before you play
confirmation
that,
here.
it's crazy how all these gay guys are coming into the military, or even trans people. Because if you said being gay was a way to dodge the draft,
All right.
Terrible. You will have to change how you see women to do this job well. And I don't know if you are capable of that. So I want to press on these issues that my colleague Jean Shaheen brought up because she said it so well. So, first of all, you answered your questionnaire. Do you believe that any American who wants to serve their country in the military and can meet objective standards set by the military should be allowed to serve without limitation? You've said yes to that question. But then in all of these other circumstances, you've denigrated active duty service members. We have hundreds of women who are currently in the infantry, lethal members of our military serving in the infantry, but you degrade them. You say, we need moms, but not in the military, especially in combat units. So specific to Senator Cotton's question, because Senator Cotton was giving you layups to differentiate between different types of combat. And specifically, as secretary, would you take any action to reinstitute the combat arms exclusion for female service members, knowing full well you have hundreds of women doing that job right now? And the standards, your 2 mile run,
I
Tom,
can't name
is
a
about
single
the
thing this woman did in New York. I don't know a
All right,
damn
yeah,
thing.
let's talk about this first. Should mom be serving in combat roles? We're not even talking about women yet, but moms. So you're telling me that by saying mom should stay close to their children, mom should be around the home, being the nurturer of the family, being you're like the nurturer of the family. You're like it's like you're the blood, you're the soul of the family. That we can't have you can't have your soul outside of your body. You can't have your blood outside of your body, of your system. So should woman, Matt, tell me your thoughts on this, because I just thought that the fact that that woman, this senator thinks that she ate when she's trying to own Pete over here, saying, "Oh,
All I'm
why
gonna
don't you
say,
let women be in
all
combat
I'm gonna
roles?" I
say
thought
is,
it was hilarious.
have you ever seen girls fight in school, middle school, high school, whatever? Have you ever seen them fight? What the fuck are they gonna do when a grown ass Russian dude runs up on them? What the fuck are they gonna do, bro? Seriously, what the fuck are they gonna do? The only way it would be fair in combat is if they fight other women. If we get those big old, the big old woman in San Antonio that Charles Barkley talks about, if we get them to fight like the little Chinese woman, then okay, yeah. But the combat isn't gonna be fair. China's actually gonna send their girls to fight our girls, and then our guys fight our guys. That's not how this shit works, right? So all I'm gonna say is, think about when you saw girls fighting in school and see how that translates in war against a grown man.
And yeah,
Just think
I'm
about it.
definitely like, yeah, we're definitely not saying there are capable women out there who's like able to like knock the both of us out with one punch. But the thing is
That's
that
very rare,
there are
man.
significantly more capable men out there who's able to
Yeah,
knock that girl out with like
hmm
a with like 50% of their power. Biology matters. And then not only is biology that we're talking about, we're not just talking about physical strength, how big your muscle is, how much you bench, but it goes even deeper. Like moms should be around their kids. Moms should not be in the desert of Afghanistan waiting for the call to bomb like the Taliban or something.
yeah,
And then I also want to bring up the fact that war is also a mental thing. So as anti-war as I am and as anti-war as you are, war in itself is not a bad thing. Man, we're built to go to war. That's why when we go to the gym, when we are going to challenge ourselves, it's a war mentality that we are giving ourselves. That we are man like us, we are built for war because our ancestors have been fighting for in wars forever. The world is a knife fight, you know?
yeah,
Even in the business world, when you're negotiating, when you're trying to do trade with others, it's a war mindset. And then that is why in such a fierce world, that is why you're seeing all of these CEO on the top being men. And then most of the female billionaires, especially 98% of the female billionaires became billionaire after divorcing a billionaire. So there's a reason why men are built for wars. And then it's innate in us to go to war. It's innate in us to have this fight or flight or fight or death mentality. And then so yeah, let's keep watching this first.
Army combat fitness test. It is not the requirements to have an MOS 11 Bravo, which is the infantry. These are the requirements today for people serving in the industry, men and women. They are gender neutral and they are very difficult to meet. They have not been reduced in any way. And our combat units, our infantry is lethal. So please explain specifically, because you will be in charge of 3 million personnel. It is a big job. And when you make these public statements, and I get you were not Secretary of Defense then, I get you were on TV, I get you were helping veterans, I get it was a different job. But most recently, you said this in November of 2024, knowing full well you might have been named as Secretary of Defense. So please explain these types of statements, because they're brutal and they're mean and they disrespect men and women who are willing to die for this country.
All right, let's listen to
Senator,
Pete's
I
response
appreciate
first.
your comments, and I would point out I've never disparaged women serving in the military. I respect every single female service member that has put on the uniform, past and present.
I
My
don't.
critiques, Senator, recently and in the past, and from personal experience, have been instances where I've seen standards lowered, and you mentioned 11 Alpha, 11 Bravo, MOS, places in units, and the book that has been referenced multiple times here, The War on Warriors. I spent months talking to active duty service members, men and women, low ranks, high ranks, combat arms and not combat arms. And what each and every one of them told me, and which personal instances have shown me, is that in ways direct, indirect, overt, and subtle, standards have been changed inside infantry training units, ranger school, infantry battalions, to ensure that
Give me one example. Please give me an example. I get you're making these
commanders
generalized
meet
statements.
quotas to have a certain number of female infantry officers or infantry enlisted. And
Okay, let's pause
What
here
the
first.
fuck?
But it's hilarious that that lady is saying, "Oh, it's mean to her combat, it's mean to our soldiers." Like, it's a military about diversity, or is the military about getting the best guys out there so we can kill the toughest enemy out there? It's just hilarious. Like, Matt, tell me what your I just shared my whole thoughts on war. Tell me why women are not suited for this job.
I mean, it's ridiculous of you to talk about it, bro.
Like,
Okay,
in my
there are
opinion,
some women
like
out
there are,
there
yeah,
that
it's a
okay,
it's a
yes,
rough,
they
yeah,
can, they
it's
can, they can do it, I guess. But to have just the system in place now that we have quotas that we need to meet a certain amount of women in these roles is it makes absolutely no sense. Like if we go to war, which I hope we don't, I pray for peace on this world. Like, I genuinely do not want to go to war. I genuinely don't want to going to be drafted, right? It's
Mhm.
terrible. I don't know. Some people they glorify that type of stuff. I don't. But if we do go to war, do you really want there to be racial quotas, gender quotas, sexual orientation quotas? I mean, come on. Like it's wrong to
Yeah,
have
like,
quotas even in education or professional in a professional workplace, but to have quotas in which you're literally supposed to pick upon the best of the best. Doesn't matter what the
yeah,
gender they are, what race or sexual orientation. You want to pick the best, the most physically and mentally suited for the job. And when it comes to combat roles, men should be in every single one of them.
yeah, and then it's funny how, just like you mentioned, like a lot of guys like us, we don't want to go to war. I don't want to go to war. I am capable and I'm ready to go to war whenever I'm called, but I don't want to go to war. I don't want to die for a stupid cause. I don't want to die for nothing, especially
Yeah.
not for the evil politicians who are running their mouth and then using our taxpayer dollars
And
to
it's not as
rape minors.
glorious as it was before. Like before, going out to war was like this glorious thing where you like march
Hmm.
and then But now, if you seen those footage of those North Korean soldiers in the Ukraine?
Yeah.
The drone just comes, drops a bomb, and boom, there's nothing they can do. That's
Yeah.
not glorious. That's not
And then it's
glorious
funny
anymore.
how like on it was like we're talking about how Russia and China is our biggest geopolitical enemy, and then that we gotta be prepared to go to massive scale of war with them. And then is Russia and China talking about what percent of their military is LGBTQ members? What percent of their military is women? It's preposterous. And it's just
I
like
was
what it
just in
said. Not
China. I
not
didn't see a
biology
single
matters,
female
like
soldier.
manners.
I was just saying, I was just in China for quite a while. I didn't see a single female soldier. And they would have the military just walking around everywhere sometimes. Didn't see a
Exactly.
single female soldier.
And men are significantly stronger than women.
Yeah.
Men are significantly are we have bigger lung capacity, we have bigger muscle mass, our bone density is completely different. Not just that, the needs of men and women are completely different. Even when women aren't pregnant, they have periods, they have other biological needs.
Yeah.
And then there's this good point that was brought up about combats by someone, I won't name names, but he talked about how when women were taken as hostage, we will be put in a worse position of negotiation, because I'm not saying women are not tough or whatsoever, but for example, when we traded that WNBA black lesbian player, what's her name? Like
Brittany Griner.
Griner?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brittany Griner. We traded her. There's so much pressure to trade her, to free her, that we basically gave Russia the war of merchants, the guy who was selling all of the terrorist weapons in Africa, for a WNBA player who smoked weed in Russia. Whenever a woman is being held hostage, things are going to be dramatically worse for us. And then I'm saying this out of the love that we need to protect women at all costs. And then because when women are held hostage, it's more likely for them to be raped by these terrorists. It's more likely for them to undergo excruciating mental and physical pain. And there's dramatically more pressure on the society, on the military, to negotiate, to make bad deals to get her back. So, having talked about the biological differences between man and woman, the biological woman needs that makes her unfit to be in a war zone. And then talking about the disadvantage whenever a woman's being held hostage in a war compared to man.
Yeah.
Pete
You don't
Hexev is
think
completely
the
correct. I don't get
yeah.
how is this even a controversial take?
You
And then
don't
there's
think
actually
the biological differences are big? Put a trans woman, put a lady boy next to a real woman, and tell me if they look the same. You'll
it's
see some differences.
yeah, you'll see. Yeah, there's a reason why in Thailand, even for these lady boys, they can do all the surgeries to make them look like women, to make them even look hotter than women. But
Yeah.
there's a reason why they still have to serve in the military. There's a reason why actual women do not have to serve in the military. Because and then it's not the job of women to be in the military. The primary role of the woman is to be the nurturer of the society. And then that's why when World War II happens, all the women are taking over with with like factory productions, with all of the jobs. Like women are extremely capable. Like my whole point is actually to not to denigrate women, but to uphold women, to say that woman, you are way too good to be in war zone. You have your God-given role. And I think you got any last thoughts, Matt?
Um. Yeah, man. I totally agree. Everything you just said there. Um. But yeah, it all ties together, like what I was talking about earlier. You know. And if you want to play that last clip, actually, that I wanted.
Was not a conservative. And obviously, as a liberal woman, I do who was not a conservative. And obviously, as a liberal woman, I do want to be respected for my independence. And I do want to have my own autonomy in the relationship and not be confined or conform to the traditional female homemaker, childbearing role. And most of the men that I've dated who do have that more natural provider masculinity about them are normally conservative. So I don't really know what to do because I don't want to compromise my morals and values just to find a man. But am I asking to have my cake and eat it too?
Yes.
Pause
I don't know.
Whenever I see all of these liberal women talking about, oh, I want XYZ, but at the same time I also want men with conservative trait. The first thing I think about is not their political ideology, not even their religion at all. It just screams to me that they are spoiled. The reason why they
Yeah.
can talk crazy about relationships right now, the reason why they can have so much on demand is because they are living a comfortable life. They are a man who will let them into bars for free. There are men who will bring them on private jets. There are men who will bring them on yachts for free, and then they're enjoying their life right now. and they have nothing to lose right now. Everything is being handed on the silver platter to them. But once you take all that away, once you take your beauty away, once you take all the men admiring you away, and you're alone, even if you have like 1,000 Gucci bags, but when you're 80 years old, does it even matter? Or there's the girl who
Doesn't.
went on the traditional route and now she has all the grandchildren playing with her? Like, which one do you want when you're older?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said earlier about the
Hmm.
Tate story. And I had the same story too with my great grandmother. Uh, I mean, she was demented as hell by then. I don't know if she knew what was going on, but like hundreds of people were there at her 100th birthday. And, I have no clue what she did. I have no clue. But
Yeah,
I knew that she raised my grandma. And I know that she raised some of my other uncles, when she was already like in her 60s and 70s retired. So that's what I remember her for.
Mhm.
And just to wrap up, you know, all this shit ties together. What I was saying about, before men going to other countries to seek these feminine women. And this thing about women in the military, it's all about the culture. The culture dictates
exactly. And then
women
yeah,
have
the last thing I want to add is that
male jobs.
we talk about gender roles. We talk about things that are unfit for women, and then we talk about women should be mothers. And I want to emphasize again, being a mom is the greatest thing that a woman can do. And then it's a job that a man cannot do. It's something that takes extraordinary patience. It takes a lot of care, and it takes a lot of effort. And then being a mom is literally the greatest accomplishment you can be, because your legacy is not going to be, oh, I wrote 50 articles on the New York Times. No, your legacy is going to be your children. It's going to be the one carrying your last name. It's going to be the one that's passing on the bloodline. And so being a mom is the greatest thing out there. And then I also want to add, man should not be absent at home. Man should be present at home, supporting the family, supporting the mom. That's why your kid can look up to the dad. When the dad is a role model, it's more likely the family is on the right track. Like, there's a study that says that 70% of the household where the dad is not a Christian, but the mom is a Christian, 70% of the household will turn out to be atheists after that. The kids will turn out to be atheists after that. But in the case when the father is the Christian, the father's taking everyone to church, most of the time, vast majority of the time, the kids will follow suit and go to church in that family. So God has designed completely different roles, but both important roles in the society. And then I think the last thing we want to do is to respond to all the lovely comments we got on Instagram.
All
Matt,
right.
you want to do us the favor first?
Okay. So I'll respond to the first one really quickly first. When did we say it was new? Did we say it was new? And also, it's not true. Uh, look. There's literally a Pew Research. Uh, you can look this up quickly. Just look up Asian American voting trends. Just look it up. It's on Pew Research. It literally takes a quick Google search.
Asian voters in the U.S.
You
tend to be
see, the
Democratic, but
fucking
Vietnamese
Jesus
American voters
Christ,
are,
man.
are an exception.
So that guy's
62%
just straight
identify
up
as a
wrong.
Democrat.
You don't even have to you don't even have to reply to him. The data shows he's straight up wrong. Right? You can go back. This is the next idiot.
Next Bozo. I mean, the algorithm is kind of like a dating app. Like, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to the
This
first
who is this? GPW. Click on that profile.
GPW. Y'all posting this and acting like it's a new idea is why you shouldn't be allowed to have a podcast. What do you mean? What do you mean? It's so we can't discuss old ideas. Like, I think I replied to her. We're only getting started, sweetheart. Law
Lol,
gross.
gross. This is a bot. Click on the account. Click on the account.
Probably not.
You
Oh,
got
that's
no post. Moon Hye-jin. Yeah, you ain't got no fucking post. Get the fuck out of here. Show your face if you want to comment.
all right. And then
Okay.
we got people crashing out. This is not true. The majority of people committing hate crimes against Asians are still white people, not black people.
We didn't even mention race.
We didn't even mention race exactly. We're talking about having more criminals in this country when you have a open border. Viral images show people of color as anti-Asian perpetrators.
It's
This
not
misses
viral
fake.
images. Those are
You're,
just
you're citing
those are
a
just what the people
NBC
look
News
like.
as I thought she was gonna cite some studies that says, oh, there's significantly more Asian hate from white people, not from black people. But she cited this bogus NBC story. It's misread. The study which are hate crime. And then it's funny how they will always cite some studies from 1992 to 2014 before, like years before the whole hate
years
crime become
before
really
all
an issue.
this COVID stuff.
And years before all the illegal immigrants start pouring in.
Mm-hmm.
75% of perpetrators were white.
It's
Sure,
framed
so that's
as the
why in
source
the
is black.
podcast we
Okay,
talk about
time out.
how
Also, yeah, white people are the majority of the population. They commit the majority of the crimes, but black people disproportionately commit crimes. They're such a small percentage of the population, but they commit a large percentage of the crimes.
videos don't represent the majority of crime. We only see the shit that the media wants to report. Exactly, we only see the shit that the media wants to report. That's why we said the Black Lives Matter movement and then the Stop Asian Hate movement were incompatible. Because guess what's happening? What's happening to Chinatown, to Koreatown, to all these Asian grocery stores when all of the looting were happening? It's it's a Black Lives Matter protesters who happen to be majority black and majority liberal lunatic whites that are looting people. So so it doesn't really hold up to the mostly peaceful narrative that they are trying to purport during the Black Lives Matter movement. So that's why the Stop Asian Hate movement died out. That's why you don't see the media talking about Stop Asian Hate to even the extent of talking about like trans kids online. You know, like Stop Asian Hate is like completely out of the internet now. And yeah, it's funny how these people are just saying, "Oh, you're purporting hate," when you're just describing a phenomenon. Let's see
We
you.
didn't
Let's
even
see other
mention we didn't even
media.
mention the race of the fucking attackers.
Yeah, we
Actually,
didn't
that's
even
actually
mention race.
what they think in their head. Deep down in their head, they know, but they're programmed to just go
Yeah,
against
they're
what we
programmed.
say.
Yeah, how come? Yeah, and then I think it's at the same time, it's also super rare of like two Asians, two very outspoken conservative Asians like this. So when like white liberal sees another two Asians who are speaking out against the whole liberal matters, they're immediately triggered. Oh, someone ran away from our liberal plantation. A slave ran away. You're supposed to be democratic. You're supposed to be liberal. How come you're speaking out against the whole liberal establishment? How come you're speaking out against the whole BLM movement? You're a minority. You're supposed to vote Democratic. You're supposed to take a knee during the national anthem. Whole thing's just preposterous. Whole thing's just ridiculous. I can't even speak English anymore because all right, to conclude today's episode, thank you for listening to both of our yap again, and we look forward to yap a lot more.
Yeah,
Peace.
tune in for the next episode, guys. We're gonna
Yeah.
be back in school, so maybe our demeanor will change, but it'll be good.
Yeah.
Hope you guys tune in next time. See ya.
I don't think I can stop it. Would you stop it for me? Like the recording?